Всем привет, дамы и господа, друзья. У нас подходит к концу третий день.
Friends, we are about to
Круто, что все вы
complete the third day, and that's
смогли
great that you managed to come to us to listen to us, because
очень важная
on
тема.
the agenda we have a very important topic and a goal and a task to
Все-таки такое кибериспытание.
find out what
Как это связано
cyber challenge is about, how it is related to pin test, to bug bounty, and
просто
does it have anything to do with the ethical
уровне, как это работает,
hackers, how it works, and
вообще с этим жить.
how can we live along with
Я
that.
в роли модератора Панин
I will act as a moderator. My name is Panin Roman, and I do think that we will first of all introduce our speakers who are going to participate in the discussion one by one. Anton Bachkaryov, CEO of Third Site, and by the way, he is one of the developers of Cyber Challenge methodology. Ruslan Suleimanov, and raise your hand so that everyone could identify you. Information security expert, member of the expert council of GSC Cyber Testing. Yegor Bogomolov, raise your hand. Managing Director of Cyber Ad and CEO of Singleton Security. Anatoly Ivanov, Head of Standoff Bug Bounty Positive Technologies. Adis Alimov, Lead Attack Simulation Expert Angara Security, and Oleg Nechayev from Pridex, IT Director. So we have gathered them not by accident, because it consists of the people who have something to do with the cyber tests, so that you could get the first-hand information. And we invited the people who already participated as customers in those cyber challenges, who could feel really what it is, whether it is useful or not, and now probably they would be able to share with you whether it is worth it and the time and the effort spent on that, or you can do without that being used to bug bounty, pin tests, and other things. And my first question is, tell me what cyber testing or cyber challenge is about. Cyber challenge, this is in essence a product that proceeded from the cyber testing product that helps business to assess how well protected they are, and it should be close to the reality, and it has to be clear for the business. It is measured in money, how much it costs to hack your company. Whether this effort and this money be enough in order to hack a company. Can we hack a company if it is done by a school student? If we pay the amount enough to buy breakfast? And what should be done to actually to be hacked by a specialist who was paid 1 million ruble, or you will not be able to, you will not be hacked by a group of people, real specialists, who were paid about 15 million rubles. You can hack any company, but how much it costs to hack your company? Only Cyber Challenge may help with that. If business realizes that it was not hacked for a certain amount of money, for instance 10 million rubles, then it's okay, because none of the potential competitors or cyber criminals are going to spend so much money. Cyber test or cyber challenge says, we have checked your vulnerability, your protection, and so it could be hacked for this amount of money. And if you could be hacked with this amount of money, we'll tell you how and why it was done. And if not, that's it. So this is very broad and publicly open story. So any researchers, any ethical hackers can hack you, and if they succeeded, they would be awarded with the amount that business is ready to spend on that. When we developed a methodology for Cyber Challenge, and we started quite long ago with the guys, and we collected a big team for that, we proceeded from the main concept. White like black. So it means that white hackers are acting as criminals, so they have to act close to how the real ill-minded, malafide people are working. We try to be as close to the reality as possible, but certainly complying with the criminal code of the Russian Federation. But at the same time, we give to the researchers very broad opportunities for the activity, and we tried to simplify their work in terms of the formalities, so that they do not have to care about the documentation and the technical things, and to protect the customer and the hacker from the modified actions of each other. So cyber challenge, this is the test of the vulnerability tested by everyone, by all the stakeholders available in Russia, and that gives to the white hackers more motivation than the black hackers have. Well, that's good. As a person who has something to do with cyber challenge and who developed the methodology, sounds great and even quite clear. What about the business? How it feels like being hacked? How did you interact with the people involved in the cyber challenge? How the cyber challenge was going on? Let me tell you what it was about. From the business perspective, the main difference of the cyber challenge is that it's much easier to explain to the CEO what cyber challenge is about, because you are using the concept of unacceptable events when you come to the CEO and you say that we want to check whether we can steal money from your company's account, and this is much more understandable for the CEO. Second story, for instance, speaking about the cyber challenge. We underwent cyber challenge, and I think, at least our experience, is the story about it was not a spontaneous thing, so it required a lot of preparation. It took about 9 months for preparation, so we changed the processes, we changed the systems, we organized the teams who were involved in the preparation for the cyber challenge, and most importantly, the main takeaway, this is about the change in the people's mindset, because the hardware, the processes, these are the things that are quite obvious, but still people remain the most important thing. The change in the people's mindset is something that we need not only in the IT or information security. That's a comprehensive check of the whole company, whether it is durable, whether it is sustainable. We check all the processes, starting from how water is being delivered to your company, ending with the hiring people and dismissing people. There was a case when, during the cyber challenge, one of the researchers tried to find a job with us. And this way, he tried to identify, to find out how the mail server works. That's about merging all the departments into one unity. That's about streamlining the work of all the departments, IT department and others. And that's about cross-functional things that, for instance, public relations. How, for instance, the company has to react to the very fact when the company was hacked or something happened within the company. There has to be some templates. There has to be understanding who may speak on behalf of the company publicly about what has happened to the company. Does it make sense to keep silent? Or it makes sense to tell the whole story without hiding anything? Should we celebrate anything? How that story should be conveyed, that the company was hacked and a tolerable event occurred. My main message is that the cyber challenge, this is a comprehensive thing. This is not just a check of one system, as usually happens at Back Bounty. This is not just using one scale and one template to check something. Well, 1 week-long pin test. This is a comprehensive crash test that allows to change the processes within the company and change the people. Okay, I got it. We have one more representative of business community, Oleg. Let me tell you about our experience. And my company is a construction one. Well, in essence, that's about the finishing of commercial and housing dwellings, but at the same time, probably we are one of the few non-banking companies that was accredited according to Federal Law 572, and now we can install the commercial biometric system. And within our project, we offer to our customers the Face ID's good system. And in essence, this was one of the flags that we claimed during those cyber challenges. Ruslan said that they got prepared especially for that, and we did not get prepared for that. Especially, we have a big team, and
что как бы у нас by design мы стараемся делать сразу как бы хорошо.
We try to do good from the very beginning. We try to anticipate all kinds of control, introducing the system of monitoring,
за которыми мы хотим следить.
Monitoring the events that may happen, and therefore there were quite few people in the company who knew about the cyber challenge. Even the shareholders did not know about that. We didn't advertise that because really we wanted to check the reaction and the viability of our team
На действие какого-то атакующего
amid certain intrusion, to understand whether we can follow the basic scenarios that are enshrined in our documents and that we tested during certain drills, and this is what happened. So our experience is quite positive because what we designed, some of our markers really worked, and we noticed some suspicious activity, and the company got mobilized. We immediately collected a kind of a crisis center. Certain communications were made within the company, and we notified the owners of the processes, the owners of the company. The guys also acted accordingly. And what we noticed, we realized what the hacker used, and we immediately took certain decisions, and the changes were introduced just in a blink of an eye. I think that this was our main goal. We were confident about ourselves, and we wanted to check that, but at the same time, we were prepared to react promptly and introduce right changes. And certainly, we did not label the hacker as a gray one or black one or white one. We approached that event that happened very seriously. That was the very essence of the cyber challenge. Just to react like in real life, and the team reacted to that. So it acted in every seriousness as if that's a real attack. And really they believed that it was a real attack, therefore they acted like that. So that was our experience, and probably cyber challenges inspired us, because within PhD I listened to on-stage presentations about that, and for instance, the main difference between cyber challenge and bug bounty and pintest that this is a managed activity of the intruders where the business may focus.
Команду, которая работает в кибериспытаниях на наиболее критичные.
May ask the team, the attackers, to try to undermine certain most critical things in order to identify some loopholes, some gaps, where actually we have to improve the whole situation. Out of what I understood, the key difference between cyber challenge and bug bounty is not that we're looking for bugs. Ethical hackers or white hackers, they're not looking for some standalone bugs that may result in something or may not result in something because, for instance, it may be repelled by some protection system. But here we are operating with the events, intolerable events. And for instance, your team reacted and you have collected the necessary team and you fixed all the problems and you pulled your efforts. What about the researchers? What about those intolerable events hunters, so-called ethical hunters? Are they interested in looking not for some standalone bugs that they can do automatically, for instance, but rather they have to attack the whole chain in order to bring that to intolerable event? I may ask that question. First of all, I believe that bug bounty with single bugs and whole events with the cyber challenge. That's the result. That's the result of the methodology that you're using. The methodology is different. During the cyber challenge, your idea is to, in simple terms, I love simple terms. So we have to understand whether it can be hacked, yes or no. So, as if for me, cyber challenge answers that question. Therefore, the hackers are looking for some chains to show some push impact. What Oleg has said, I think that's a very cool topic because there is a feeling that in many companies, the processes, they approach the processes like, don't touch it while it works. And unless something awful happens, the people would not bother and would stay in the comfort zone, feeling being safe and secure. Cyber challenge gives you this opportunity, removes you from the comfort zone, and gives a push to your employees, to the company, especially when the employees did not know about the challenge. Bug bounty is something different. It aims at purging you from any vulnerabilities. This is not just about scanners. Not so much this is about scanners, but this is about the manual work. And really, the researchers are looking for bugs and try to identify them. So you can imagine that whole chain using which the criminal may get access to a company, and you cut off the vulnerabilities from the entry point, from web applications, for instance. Frankly speaking, that certainly was very inspiring in terms of bug bounty, because it helped me to have a fresh look at those vulnerabilities. And now, doing bug bounty, people are assessing the impact anyway. But nevertheless, the company has to get prepared. And first, you have to get prepared, just starting bug bounty, removing those vulnerabilities along the perimeter of the company so that you are not just being hacked by the people who just started dealing with the vulnerabilities, who used the scanner and they checked the whole chain and identified some bugs. And you will have to pay a lot of money for that. Another thing, guys loved it very much. Once the terms of reference was formulated very well. So, do we need some clear tasks? My answer is yes, because once you say, guys, for instance, you have this and this data on the client, and they are stored in that base, in that host. Frankly speaking, it debilitates the search process, because at the end of the day, you will be looking for just some specific host, not just the process, but it removes so much questions that would arise, because clients would say, I just found something, for instance. Some personal data. And once you are penalized for the leak of the personal data, you would not say, guys, this is not what I mean. So you will have to pay for that leakage of the personal data. But still, there have to be some clear-cut standards and requirements. Another point, which I like very much, but sometimes may cause some disputes, that about the scope. That's another quite ambiguous question. On the one hand, for instance, I have a company. I have a standoff bug bounty platform that I'm dealing with, and certainly I don't want the customers' reports to be leaked somewhere. And I say, guys, we have a bug bounty website, so I look for vulnerabilities there. And what if on some neighboring domain or endpoint, and God forbids, they find in Google Docs or anywhere else some private data? For me as the end user, it would be interesting, but still, there might be some companies that would say, I have one website, and you check it, and there will be just one landing which is working or probably will not work. So before you start bug bounty, you have to talk to the hackers. And I have a big request. Your terms of reference have to be clear-cut, and the scope has to be clear-cut.
Можно начать с какого-то
You
конкретного.
can start with some specific things, and that scope could be extended.
А можно сюда? Отвечаю.
And you may ask actually whether
Ребята не ползли.
we can go there, and you say yes, you can, and that would be legitimate for other
Вот. Но при этом действительно
hackers to go to the neighboring domains. And there were some good programs that collected very positive feedback as how the company communicated to the bug bounty team, how fast it would be fixed, and how the compensation will be paid. But also the company needs some preparation for that.
Хорошо, слышно меня, да? Да, все, спасибо за
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for passing a mic over to me.
Ты сказал, что есть идея,
You said that
можно сначала вычислить
first you can identify the scope
кибериспытания,
using bug bounty to cyber challenge, and after that you can let the white hackers to cyber challenge. But
кибериспытания действительно хорошо.
cyber challenge really is good. This is like a litmus test to answer the question yes or no, can it be hacked or not hacked? And probably the key client and the key requirement in terms of the cyber challenge is to understand whether the company would crash or would not crash. In that case, the client would value that understanding, but he or she would need a pure experiment, because once you have purged that with bug bounty, this is temporary, because we understand that bug bounty is a very complicated process of drawing attention of hackers to the company.
Никто еще там не собрал багов, и там можно
And once this is a new company, no one have identified any bugs, and this becomes very attractive for the hackers, and the company looks sterile, but in years' time, actually the
ее там могут все еще.
new bugs would emerge, and still it could be hacked, and it means that probably you'd rather give an opportunity to the hackers to start the cyber challenge again, to try to crash the company, to show to the business that probably they did something wrong before that the company may crash, may collapse, and after that they would invest into the information security and would reach the level of bug bounty. This is a mature level when you have to check your own assumptions
Такой стратегии кибербезопасности.
of your own strategy of cybersecurity, whether it is built very well, are there any signs or symptoms, and only then you will switch on bug bounty in order to identify those bugs, to understand the root causes of those diseases. Is it true? Well, it depends on your targets.
ты ничего не делал в своей жизни, или, например,
So if your target is to see
полезно оно было мне или нет,
whether it makes sense to do something, where actually what you did, is it good or not, then this is totally a very good idea. But judging by my experience of working with
баунти, которые
the bug bounty customers
годами выстраивают
who for years are
топовые специалисты,
launching pin tests, and they employ top experts in terms of information security, but still, even a regular bug bounty, which is less expensive than a cyber challenge, would reveal so much vulnerabilities that you would just be surprised.
Уязвимость какого-то уровня.
я это веду к тому, что ты
What are you driving me to? You will just spend that money. You will just waste that money. You will spend that money very quick, and you will spend this money on quite simple bugs that in 50% cases could be detected by a simple scanner.
Там все-таки уже вычисленный скоп. Там
Well, now we need a pure scope. You said that serious hunters or pin testers have worked there and purged the company from certain simple bugs. Even very seriously protected companies, bug bounty may detect simple and very stupid bugs, because all the time there will be new functionality, and we all try to compete.
много где горячий, хочется катить новые фичи быстрее.
The market is heated, and you want to release new features, because now we're going to earn good money.
может рухнуть бизнес, а мы говорим,
If that bug may collapse the whole business, and speaking about intolerable events and cyber challenge, the crushing of the business, or once the money from the account could be stolen. So do you like that?
Вот ты просто выйдя сразу на кибериспытание, мое мнение, что ты сразу потратишь.
I think that once you embark on the cyber challenge, you will just spend money all the time, but you can increase the amount of money step by step, starting from 100,000 rubles. Look, cyber challenge could be started with a little bug bounty to understand whether, even for little money, whether the company could be hacked. And it would be a good argument for the top brass, and then it would help you to show that this is very good and very cheap
За 100 тысяч
check. No one is going to hack a company for 100,000 rubles. Red team for 100,000 rubles doesn't make sense. Well, it would be quite difficult to attract attention, where there would be effect of the first show. As Igor has said, that hackers love something that has emerged for the first time. And Cyber Challenge helps you to check what is not available from a bug bounty. That's about the social media, on the leakages. And I know by my own experience, the leaked data would be used in order to undermine or compromise the company, where the social media would be used. And so it makes sense. This is what is being paid for. I thought about that. I didn't think about that. And really, once you have stolen some data, so you took the data from somewhere, and usually you would be said, okay, get some points, not money, but your rating would be good, so they would say, thank you for your information. This is about the approach to the leaked data. Now, most of the companies really accept the leaked data. Are they paying money for that? Yes, they pay money for that. If it is in the scope, they would pay money for that. There is a number of companies. They would say, okay, here is $25 for the license. Well, actually, not $25, and the license is not so cheap. So it depends on the impact. There are companies that would be paying according to the impact. If you are inside certain administrative rights realm, you would be paid a lot of money. Well, some companies will say this is not within the scope. Here you have, you are at $25. Well, it depends on the range, and if the total impact is within that range, you would be paid very well. I would agree with Yegor. For instance, bug bounty, probably that's the story for the IT guys. And management is not ready to buy for that criticality. How well they are protecting the perimeter, etc. Then probably in some companies, Cyber Challenge would work very well. Everyone would be scared.
Фокус, как бы свой там локус внимания обращает на кибербез.
And it would help the top management pay more attention to cybersecurity. And bug bounty would be a logical follow-up, along with pin tests. This is when one professional team works along with the other professional team, and when they're upgrading their skills. But at attention point, Cyber Challenge is totally undoubtful. It creates a kind of a boom effect, and emotionally for the top management, this is the very right thing to do. So before something awful happens, and social media has been covered by the pin tests. So does it mean that once we have pin tests and bug bounty, we don't need Cyber Challenge? Well, in my opinion, I can answer that question. On the one hand, I worked a lot as a hacker, and my tournament team participated in such an endeavor. But on the other hand, I offered a Cyber Challenge for my own company, and I was member of the expert council to see how the product is faring. And being a shareholder and CEO of the company that I subjected to Cyber Challenge, I must say that I know why I need Cyber Challenge. A pin test is something that I don't need, because this is just a boutique company that I have with a trade turnover of about 100 million rubles, and a good pin test would cost about 1 million to 4 million rubles. I'm not ready to spend that amount of money, because why you need a spin test? Not to identify the vulnerabilities, but to see actually what you will do with the cybersecurity. And there is some assumption, and you do pin test in order to check that assumption, and future on you would fix the problems and amend your strategy. So that's a very strategic question. Bug bounty for me, this is a question of my IT development. So once I have my IT development, there are some program products, and I have to improve the quality of those IT developments, and I cannot let any vulnerabilities. And bug bounty responds to that very question, at least for me, that if my program fails and there are developers who do not do that the right way, the bug bounty is going to detect every single vulnerability. I'm going to pay for that. And I'm spending money on hackers outside, and probably I would hire better developers, and therefore I'm going to somehow make those patchwork.
Of course, these tests are necessary. Well, I have when I have a business and a small amount of systems, then it's important for me to see whether it will crash or not. It doesn't matter whether it's a small bug or a small bug. For me, the key event is data leakage about all hackers that we have and about all our security people. Because I know that there's a risk of some security services that can steal the whole list of my people who get trained. They may recruit them, and there is a list of people who may have ill intentions. I should not allow for that. I'm very lucky that my CTO and my colleague hacker knows how to get defended from this. But it's important to set the task the right way. Data leakage about hackers, I don't know how, I don't know where, what kind of bug will help you do that, I don't know. This will answer the question whether or not this will happen. So the hypothesis, even of larger businesses, proved here. Backbound is for mature guys, those who are who care about their IT infrastructure, and they cannot check it within their own, with the help of their own instruments. I think here, and I'm here for all business shareholders as well. At the first stage, when you take the first approach to information security, you should do this crowdsourcing among hackers. And dear hackers, please let me know whether there are a lot of loopholes or not. If so, then I will make some offers to this crowd. First, maybe it's 500,000 rubles. Nobody's interested. All right, then. I guess I'm okay. In case if I raise it to 1 million or 2 million, maybe I will not even invest in security until I lose these 2 million towards hackers. If I lose, then I should do shift left. Not in production, I should check my security, but earlier, I'd rather keep this money. I'd like to reduce the amount for hackers, and I will use this money into my security services, into some services internally. And this is my opinion. You didn't lose it, you invested them. All right, I see. Some cyber exercises in large companies have already been done, and in some form or fashion there are some reports on this point. In our today's world, we have reports about bug bounties. We have seen these reports. We know what they look like and what they consist of. Similarly, we know what reports on pin tests look like, what audit reports look like. But what does the final product look like? The final product that the ethical white hacker gives towards the Commission. For us, for Expert Council, we analyze a lot of reports, and we have drawn a lot of conclusions. And one of the most indicative things is how many incidences happen during the test. And given recent reports, about 60% is this number. It means that cyber exercises are successful, they are efficient. And we should take into account that actually compromise of infrastructure, getting access to internal infrastructure, there were more than 60% of this, because in express cyber exercises, we were using only one vector of potential incidences. We took this into account from advance, and we know that for large companies, there are many more critical risks for large businesses. It means that potentially the number of vectors and the number of potential compromised data will be much more, and we will see during some large cyber exercises. I wanted to mention a few words about tactics and methodology that I get from these reports. It's a quality indicator. This is what Toля, Anton, and more colleagues were talking about. It's about the tactics of hackers. Hackers are favoring the range of factors to compromise infrastructure. They're using the same social engineering. Strange as it may seem, it's still efficient and it will continue to be efficient. And there are a lot of quality reports that say that social engineering is very efficient. It works well, even in case if you defended your perimeter very well, everything is very good with the system, but human factor is there all the time. And those businesses that do not have many vulnerabilities in their perimeter, they were hacked through social engineering. We have cases via Wi-Fi access of customers. There are a few cases related to Wi-Fi, and one of them is the incident happened through guest Wi-Fi of the company, of the client. And one other case is that the one that guys mentioned, when you come to bug bounty, you come with a ready-made scope. You show the scope and say, I'm ready. Dear researchers, dear white hackers, please hack it. I'm waiting for your reports. But during cyber exercises, there would come companies who said, we want to understand what's going on from the outside, externally. Maybe there is some shadow infra. And reports allowed to see that there were resources that clients they came as a surprise for the client, and these unfavorable events did happen. When they come to bug bounty, they have a certain scope. If they could get a proper scope, then they would get some shadow infra, shadow of a subsidiary that actually they don't have, and then maybe they should audit, or maybe they have the subsidiary and they should audit it, and maybe they just forgot about this infrastructure that they should protect as well. The reports that we get are quality researches for business, in a sense that this is a report for information security system who understand all the ins and outs of processes, and they understand how information should be protected, so on and so forth. Because scenarios of exploitation of these vulnerabilities, they're in abundance. They found ways to hack into the company with different ways, through different points, different entry points, so to speak, and these were a chain of events that were completely different from one another. Also wanted to mention that there is no single risk that would lead to some destructive, irreversible results happen. No such risk happened. It means that hackers actually know how to work during cyber exercises. They're good at this. They would request information oftentimes. Can we exploit this vulnerability? Can we exploit that vulnerability? It may lead to something serious, and business may come to maybe shut down as a result of that. Please hand over this information to the client. And oftentimes the client would say that, yes, we understand it. It's very critical. This undesirable event may happen really. In case if it's exploited, then the business really will come to a halt. And sometimes researchers or white hackers, clients would come, we want to check this resource and we're not sure whether it belongs to them or not. So white hackers' maturity is enough for cyber exercises. So would be happy if more and more client companies would come to cyber exercises where we would exploit different technologies, and expert council would make a decision about all advantages and disadvantages about cyber exercises express. I wanted to mention one more thing. Aziz mentioned it. It's to the point of what is the product of cyber exercises for business, actually. What does it look like? It's not like we hacked you, but you gather a lot of analytics, you gather dozens dozens of reports, and you see point A and point B. Point A is just the start of hackers' work, and point B when the incident happens. And as a result of this work, you get a lot of an abundance of different paths hackers took, and you see that out of all the paths that they tested, the map of their steps, one or two of them will lead to a result, and you get this result as long as you pay for it. When you don't pay for a vulnerability within a large search of adverse events, then very fast they will stop bringing this to you if you don't pay for it. I didn't pay for adverse events. I paid only for these reports. Hackers send reports only in case when they're aimed at one specific spot, one specific feature, and maybe they are unable to get there. Sometimes they just break something down. Sometimes they're reporting that I got access to this system, and you say actually you did not break into it. Try harder next time. But I see what you mean. Indeed, there's a problem, and it was solved at Cybertonics at some stage. They started monitoring intermediate steps, and they started rewarding white hackers for intermediate steps. As part of large cyber exercises, it's taken into account in methodology, and in case if undesirable event didn't happen, but they provided a lot of vulnerabilities, then there will be a part of the amount of not allowing for this undesirable event to happen will also be paid. It will not be a huge amount, but at least white hackers will get rewarded for some types of vulnerabilities. But this is the way it happened in one of your cases, right? It was beyond these intermediate events. They had been described in the program, but in a stage rewarded the researchers of white hackers even for those events that were not described there, simply because the researcher would do an interesting work and they showed an interesting case. I can confirm it. In case if there is no payment for intermediate results, then hackers are poorly motivated to provide intermediate results. Like, I'm not paid for it anyway, so you should motivate them for intermediate results. I mean, it's for large-scale cyber exercises. I forgot to mention at the start that Aziz is one of the developers of the methodology of cyber exercises. We realized it from the start that hackers would not report intermediate steps in case if they're not paid for this. So you really want to pay for intermediate results to hackers. It's a good practice at cyber exercises, and it's highly motivating for hackers. Great. Is this all that you have about reports? For me, actually, everything is clear. Really, truly, everything is clear. Maybe because I'm with information security. Maybe people in the audience have some questions that will help you gain more clarity about what we're talking about today. In case if you have a question to one of the guys on stage, or in case if you have a question about a specific topic, please raise your hand and please wait for the microphone. Let's ask Natasha. Maybe you have questions. Maybe you have questions about bug bounty. Natasha is General Manager of Cyber Exercises. The methodology that guys did, we did it through Cyber Exercises Express. It was important for us to see how the hackers get motivated and how they start working together with companies and how these reports would be generated. We were concerned that maybe the number of hackers would not be enough for the number of companies, but these hackers were enough in the end. I agree with all the statements made, with all the reasons provided, but I still have one question, and I wanted to reflect on it, and I wanted to hear your opinion about it. Let's assume that a cyber exercise will cannibalize bug bounty, because it's not a matter of vulnerabilities, it's a matter of how to abuse them and how to exploit them. Because yesterday we argued with Kaspersky on Luzhniki Arena. how to estimate the cost of the data leakage. The data got leaked, so what? How do you estimate the damage? What's the loss? And it seems that the leakage itself, the vulnerability itself that you have, well, you have it and that's it. The question is, what do you do with this vulnerability and what to do with this data? Are they actionable? In our specific case, cyber exercises is an evolutionary method, and I think it will help us do away with bug bounty. Bug bounty will not exist after that. I guess it's a question to you, but I'm confident about my answer. No, bug bounty will stay alive. These are two different things. These are two different values. Cyber exercises are important for top management. For them to understand whether it collapses or not is an important task. And I see that being at a mature stage of my company, I will definitely buy a bug bounty, even if I have done cyber exercises, because bug bounty helps me brush through my scope and explains the strategies of hackers. Losha. At the point when companies are ready to pay dozens of millions or at least millions of rubles for every specific chain of events and steps taken to hack, then maybe it will be realistic. But I doubt that it's in the nearest future, because there are always such businesses out there who are not ready to pay this amount of money. And as I said at the start, the goal setting is different. The idea of bug bounty is to help you become more defended. Those vulnerabilities that are not exploited right now, or it seems to you this way, well, maybe it's 10 to 15% of these vulnerabilities are not exploited. The others have a specific impact. You can get access to admin account and you can take action there. Here you can get access to personal data, and there you can get access to an endpoint, and then you can attack from the endpoint. The attack, the purpose is to help the company become more defended and more protected. Cyber exercises would rather help you change processes. For me, for instance, if I have a business, if I have a taxi integrator and integrates all the taxi services, and I want to change attitude of my team to what is happening currently in the global market of hacking and information security, I want my guys to be involved in this, then I will do cyber exercises. And they will tell me it doesn't work here, it doesn't work there, and maybe they will highlight not just one vector of events, but a few vectors. And guys will give their reports sooner or later, so they will give them at the different time points. So it will help companies shrug and come to their senses and realize what's actually happening. When do I need bug bounty? I need it when I want to eradicate all the possible loopholes from the external perimeter. Based on the statistics that I saw when with a friend of mine, with a team, they did a pin test. Once the hackers are already inside the company, then once they make it inside the perimeter, they will definitely hack it. So it's close to 100%, which makes me conclude that internal perimeter, of course, internal perimeter should be protected, but start from protecting from the external perimeter. Protect yourself from simple vulnerabilities that are scanned by the whole world from different countries, and get protected from phishing. However, phishing is quite efficient. It generates a lot of instances. It was once you want to eradicate all the vulnerabilities, then you come to bug bounty. But at the point when you want to have your people wake up and have your people wake up and think about cybersecurity, you do cyber exercises. I think it's like whether Android will kill iOS. I don't think so, because there are different markets. Let me add a little bit and reword the question. First of all, about internal network, I support and I used to work in internal network. In case if you could not break into the internal circuit, then maybe you just couldn't find the right pathways. But let me ask this question, whether cyber exercises will kill pin test. I think these are different things, these different levels of maturity. Penetration test will help you check something very specific. For instance, an app. Just check an app in some artificial conditions. I'm also not sure that they will not substitute each other. Penetration test shows strategic areas. Let me explain. You have information security strategy, you have executed it, you have this fortress. How to make sure that your fortress is actually defending you? You can wait for an attack for 10 years and it will never happen. Or you're waiting for a bug bounty and you don't know whether there is enough attention to your company right now in order to check your strategy, actually, to verify it. So you want to carefully put this hypothesis on the table for testing. If we follow the path of cyber exercises, then we need to invest 1 million, 20 or 30 million, because it's a matter of supply and demand, offer and response. And penetration test is a small fixed price for verifying a little part, like a small isolated part of your infrastructure. But it's a limited amount of time that is necessary for its penetration test, and you're ready to buy the competences of this team. But it's 20 to 80. You pay 20% of the money to get the 80% of the benefit. But when you pay 1, 2, 3, 4 million for penetration test, then I see what system is. The system is quite reliable. Then I could have it tested at bug bounty or at cyber exercises. Then I would purify it and make it really perfect. I would polish it. As to bug bounty, as to cyber exercises, they are far from complying with audit requirements. Every hacker must say that every company must say, I have tested my system. Those who do lending or healthcare organizations, they have healthcare data that are super sensitive. They should report on them, and only penetration tests can help you create this audit report. A bug bounty will not help you with that. No, regulations are actually moving, but it will not happen soon. Penetration tests are still there and they will remain there, will not substitute other tests. We have about 10 years. We can wait for an attack for 10 years, but attack has already happened, but you haven't noticed it. You just didn't notice it. I hope it was comprehensive. Maybe there are more questions? Hello. Thank you for this interesting discussion. I represent the customer of these services. What I want to know is, how do you, being providers of services, how do you ensure that hackers are really being ethical? How can we be sure as customers that hackers will not charge money from the customer for the money and then they do not sell this in dark web? How can we be sure about that? Why are you sure that they're not doing this without cyber exercises? This is how we explain this to business. This is how we justified it to business, that we should buy these services. But the thing is, clearly the interest gets higher to those systems or to the things that we offer for bug bounty, and we give green light to ethical hackers. So, in case if you do not limit the number of hackers, then anyone can come, and in case they're interested enough, then they will give more hacks. Let me answer this question. It's a typical question. Oftentimes I hear this question. First, in case if guys take part in cyber exercises, then the interest rises, but they don't have any privileges. Black hackers could do it exactly the same, but white hackers have a higher interest. Their conditions are even worse because they cannot break the law of Russian Federation. Everyone who is in bug bounty, they get exposed. For a dark hacker, they cannot not get exposed. In case if they get exposed through a bug bounty platform, it's super dangerous for them. Priority number one for them is to remain free, remain not get prisoned or not get exposed. Mindset of different white hackers is different, and we have a high reputation. And those people who have a reputation of being a black hacker previously, they never work as white hackers simply because the market has zero tolerance to criminals, cyber criminals. Maybe you can remember stories that one guy from the US hacked something, then he got prisoned, and then he became a white hacker. These stories are super old and outdated. It happened in 2000. Now we are not tolerable to those who have a mindset of criminal. Those who are on the dark side, they have a mindset of criminals, and white hackers are just savvy techs. They are super savvy technologists, and fraudsters, criminals, they have the mindset of criminals, and they keep on having it. Let me give my answer to this. It may sound vague that these are different people, but in real life, it's just a theory of games. And in the theory of games, black hackers play in the way that they choose those businesses that can be hacked. They don't choose the businesses they want to hack. So they choose among thousands or dozens of thousands of companies. And now there's a question. Which company will will help me earn more? It's not the company that is engaged in cyber exercises, of course. Of course, they will just do one check and they will run it on 10,000 companies. And one of them, for instance, turns out to be vulnerable, and they will demand ransom from that exact business. They will not reach out to you. They will not be interested in you if you're engaged in cybersecurity. But if a white hacker hacks me, in case if he gets the money both here and there, then it will be very painful. I guess your question was about that. And it's the theory of games, and it's quite strange. The person signs an agreement, he exposes himself, he signs a contract, he gives his first name, last name, passport number. In case if this bug goes to darknet, then the first suspect will be exactly this white hacker. In case if he gives it away somewhere, then he will be the first one to call to police and be suspected. So in theory of games, it's impossible. It reminds me of a fun phrase of the last year. We discussed bug bounty. How can you run away from a bear? You don't have to ride the first. You should be the last running from a bear. Okay, I lost my thought, but this joke was good. I can tell you about our sensations, what we feel as a client of cyber exercises. We were not telling any difference between white or black hackers. We still feel the same. Once we got through cyber exercises, then later we scrutinized our infrastructure in order to feel more comfortable with our infrastructure. And we scrutinized in order to make sure that even an ethical hacker did not leave any back door. It makes you paranoid anyway, and it forces you to focus even more and to double-check everything in the system. Guys are saying that white hackers expose themselves and sign contracts and give their names and passport numbers, but customers will get paranoid anyway, and we got paranoid as well. So we took action in order to make sure that we are safe. Maybe, but what if some of them are not white? I know what I wanted to say. In case if it's you're really scared to call all the white hackers, and you can do it in an exclusive manner, in a hidden manner. You don't have to disclose it. Like, you can invite those hackers whom you know in person. Yes, there are private programs where you can cherry pick those hackers who will do it. Yes, this is the path that we took actually. Thank you for noticing this. Indeed, we just limited the number of hackers working on that, and we made a replica of our system, and this is what we offered hackers to hack. So the personal data were not the true ones there. So we got paranoid and we took some steps to make ourselves more safe. Thank you for your answers. It will be easier for me to negotiate with business now. Maybe there are more questions? Exactly, I have a question. A simple question. I will have a few questions. One of them is the following. In case if bug bounty has a low price, if it's a low price, you oftentimes can see this, right? People will not turn into black hackers. It's easier for them to sell it in the black market. But the experience that you gain when you come to the next customer, do you warn them that you have these and these vulnerabilities, adjust them in advance? Or you find one vulnerability and tell them this is only this low-level vulnerability, our testers found it, and then you come to the new customer with the same base of vulnerabilities that you find. Let me answer. Thank you for the question. About the first part, that the prices may be low for hackers. Anyway, cyber exercises and bug bounty, it's like a volume handle. When it starts from the low one, then you can increase the price. When we do bug bounty program, then we understand that activity is a little bit lower, but we have an idea that most likely there are more bugs, and we come to the customer. The question was different. The question was, is bug bounty always very not much money, but then you can gain much more money if you give this information to black hackers? But they would have done it from the start if they wanted to do that. Why do they want bug bounty then? And it's much more beneficial not to take part in bug bounty programs, but just hack companies and just hack them in real life. That's it. This is just the theory of games. Just try to hack 1,000 companies, then you can encrypt it and demand a ransom for de-encryption keys. Bug bounty is like he takes money there and then he takes money here. He exposed himself. The white hackers exposed themselves, so they cannot go to the black market ever. We will not catch them. And those who could be caught, they will be caught by Interpol, I guess.
We don't have time for that. A few words about the vulnerabilities. That, for instance, we can bring some material to that, and now this is not like that. We come to the customer. Well, the vulnerabilities of the customer, this is very sensitive information, something that is stored confidentially. This is treated as a top secret, and the only way we can convey that this is about just some analytics that would be anonymized, and we can only indicate the industry, and we will never indicate any endpoints or vulnerabilities, even the money that hackers earn. We will never identify that person if the person doesn't want to be identified. I got that question differently, as if it sounded like, may it happen that actually you're checking the same bugs everywhere, so the site doesn't need that, but the hackers are doing that. So, for instance, you take one exploit and you run across the whole bug bounty. And you're a hacker and you may try to hack 1,000 companies rather than one company, so let them earn that money. So you find a vulnerability in WordPress and you can check other companies for the same bug. We run out of time. Okay, we run out of time. Can we collect more questions, or we have to wrap it up? We wrap it up. Okay, thank you so much then. Thank you for coming to listen to us, and I hope that today you learned something new, and probably you have learned something that would move the cybersecurity forward in the years to come, something that's great that is been promoted from Russia, because before we would copy and paste that from abroad. Have a good day. Thank you so much, and bye.